It's the end of the year with the Grinch. Man, I am so excited to be doing the end of the day with Ray's holiday special. Ray reached out. He said, you want to do the show again this year? I said, well, hell yeah, I'll do the show. And then he said, well, there was some other folks that wanted to do it. I'm like, who? He told me the elf on the shelf called him. Okay, first of all, the elf on the shelf is an idiot. He's a little guy that jumps from shelf to shelf. He's a complete idiot. I mean, he's as useless as a BLI award on a mantle. You know? And Ray agreed with me on that. And then I said, well, who else? He said Santa Claus. Okay, when he told me Santa Claus, I thought, okay, this is insane. That guy Santa, ho, 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 jolly this and jolly that. He's the most unrealistic, optimistic person in the world. And we all know that Ray thinks unrealistic optimism is terrible for your business. So there's no way he was going to hire him. And quite honestly, when I think of Santa Claus, you know what I think of? I think of a fat guy that has kids sitting on his lap telling him secrets. And I don't think the print people should be sitting on old guys' laps telling secrets. Just saying. So anyway, I get with Ray and I say, I want to steal the false hopes from the grip of status quo from the print people. So when they go into 2025, they can base things on reality. And I went through the industry and I found some stories. I'm going to share some thoughts on these stories. I'm going to rip that false hope right out of the grip of status quo. And hopefully, 2025 will be a better year because of it. But folks, before I get into those stories, I got to share a story about my life because there's some similarities here. So this time of year, y'all sit around and you watch me on TV, and that story you're watching is bullshit. It's not the real story. The story you're watching has a happy ending, and there's no happy ending involving the Grinch. I go to those houses, and I steal those presents from those toddlers and kids. And I'm happy to do it because I'm the mean one, Mr. Grinch. And I take them to my cave. If it's food, I eat it. If it's a toy, I play with it till it breaks and then I throw it over the cliff and I don't recycle. This nonsense that the story has this happy ending where we all get together and sing and dance and I give all the presents back, that's just a bunch of crap made up. And that's what reminds me of the print channel. It seems the print channel, every single story has to have a happy ending. If it doesn't have a happy ending, they don't talk about it. But it's the stories that don't have a happy ending are the ones that need to be talking about, that's for sure. And so I'm hoping that I can help the end of the day with Ray convince the print people not every story needs to end with a happy ending. Because not every story ends with a happy ending. And it's from those stories that have these terrible endings that create better stories, right? That's what we're hoping for. Folks, do you all remember that company called Kodak? Remember the Kodak moment? Yeah, there was a moment when Kodak was relevant. There really was. And then what did they do? Well, they didn't do anything when they should have been reinventing themselves. They sat in status quo. They floundered, and finally they went bankrupt. What a big mess it turned out to be. Big mess. Kodak fails miserably. Pension funds involved. I mean, it was a disaster. And then you had another company called Fujifilm. Well, Kodak was going bankrupt. Fujifilm was innovating, transitioning, and growing. Fujifilm builds this multi-billion-dollar business worth billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. Kodak, a big disaster. Kodak decides, hey, we're going to sell industrial inkjet print equipment. And now Kodak thinks that they're going to beat Fujifilm, and Fujifilm clobbered Kodak. They already won. So Kodak, if you're going to go into 2025, I think you got a false hope, thinking you're going to beat Fujifilm. And now I want to talk about this e-commerce. My print people friends, what are you doing with this e-commerce nonsense? I go to some of your websites and you want me to bring a pen to a digital shopping experience. Where's your pen? I don't need a pen. It's a digital experience, right? No. Print off this sheet, fill it out, and then fax it back to us. Holy crap, can you believe this? I want to go to your site, print people, and I want to buy something, click buy now. I don't want to go to your office and see a demo. I don't want to read an encyclopedia about printers. I want to buy a damn printer. Holy smokes. So don't go into 2025 believing that e-commerce is about lead generation. It's about buying stuff online. Oh man, apparently there's a couple lawsuits. There's a lawsuit in Texas where a dealer is telling the OEM, Epson, that their customers are eating too much ink. They're eating too much ink in Texas. Gobbling it up, gobbling it up. The dealer says, hey, OEM, you told me they'd only eat this much ink. They're eating this much ink. I got to tell you something. You know what OEM stands for? Original Exaggerated Marketing. Original Exaggerated Marketing. That's what it stands for. OEMs, come on. They exaggerate that stuff they always have. Give me a break. I mean, it's up to the dealers to do some due diligence and make sure that the customers eat the right amount of ink for what you're charging them, right? Anyway, we'll see where that story goes. There's another lawsuit about a leasing company, Great America. Apparently, a completely mismanaged termination of a president. Here's what I read when I read between the lines of that lawsuit. They dragged the guy down the hallway and they kicked him out the front door. It was so cold outside he didn't have his gloves because they wouldn't let him go back to his desk. His hands got cold. He filed a lawsuit. Now, there's probably more to the story than that, but, I need to watch the end of the day with Ray's episode on that because I think there's probably more to the story of that, but I'm thinking it is Iowa, and I know this happened in April, but it's cold all year there. So there's a real possibility that the guy didn't have his mittens because they wouldn't let him go back to his desk and get his stuff. They threw him out the front door. We'll see where that goes, but I think it's a false hope thinking that everything's going to be the same at Great America after a mismanaged termination. And folks, I got to tell you, I had an opportunity to go to China. The dictator Xi said, "Hey, Mr. Grinch, would you like to come to China and see where those toys you steal are made?" And I said, "Well, that'd be kind of cool, man." I was thinking to myself, well, maybe I could steal them right from the manufacturing facility. I wouldn't have to bother the kids. Anyway, I get over to China and I'm looking at this factory and I realize that it's actually a prison. I mean, I'm looking around. These people got shackles on. It's one of them slave camps. I'm looking around. I'm thinking, oh, that's why those toys are so cheap. Okay. But holy smokes, as I was in that factory, that was the slaves making the toys, I noticed there was some toner. And I told Ray, I said, hey, Ray, I saw some toner in the slave factory. And he said, oh, yeah. He goes, there's a company called 9-Star that owns Lexmark and Static Control and some other folks. And 9-Star got banned by the Department of Homeland Security over the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, what has to do with slaves. I'm thinking, wow, that's crazy. I got to tell those people at Lexmark, Static Control, and all those other subsidiaries that are here in America, hanging up an American flag in front of the building doesn't fool anybody. Going into 2025, believing you can have these American flags fooling people is crazy. You know what I think I'm going to do after this show? I'm going to go to those facilities, Static Control and Lexmark, and I'm going to hang up a China flag. That way people know they're actually owned by a company that's controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Me and Ray, we like to talk a lot. He told me, he said, Grinch, you're not going to believe what happened at the beginning of the year. And I've been traveling a lot, so I don't get to watch all of Ray's shows, but I guess he talked about this on a couple episodes. But he said that he went to this meeting. And when he got to the meeting, there was this overweight mall cop. You know what a mall cop is? That's a cop that couldn't pass the test to be a real cop. Usually they work in a mall or some hotel, Basically, they're usually overweight people that are kind of dumb. And this, this mall cop told Ray that he wasn't allowed to go to the meeting. And when Ray told me that, I just started laughing. I said, okay, first of all, who could be that stupid? I mean, you're the end of the day with Ray. What do you mean you couldn't go to the meeting? Do these people know who you are? And Ray said, well, apparently they're a little naive. And I told Ray, I said, boy, you must have got a lot of content from that. And then I said, well, what kind of meeting was this meeting? He says, well, it's a redundant meeting. He said they have a meeting every year. And they go there and they talk about what they're going to do, what they're going to do, what they're going to do, what they're going to do. And then everybody goes home, and then next year they come back and they talk about what they're going to do, what they're going to do, what they're going to do. But he said they never talk about what they didn't do or what didn't work. Because, they want to keep looking for opportunities to pile on stuff that didn't work. Or they want to just, make sure that people don't question them too much on what didn't work so they can live in a fantasy. I will tell you this, it doesn't matter what meeting you go to in 2025, it's kind of a false hope to believe that you're going to a meeting to make you relevant when the whole entire time at the meeting you're thinking to yourself, isn't this deja vu? Folks, anything that's deja vu that didn't turn out relevant, run. I played golf that day, if you know what I mean. Ladies and gentlemen, holy smokes, there's a lot of stuff going on between print and IT. And there's this mega dealer, a company called Visual Edge. And I know I've seen some of Ray's episodes on Visual Edge IT, and that's one of them stories that doesn't have, there's nothing happy about that story. And so Ray's really the only one that talks about the unhappy stuff. You know, the other places will talk about stuff they kind of make up to make it happy. But at the end of the day, Visual Edge IT, what a train wreck mess, a financial non-performing mega dealer. I mean, it's almost sad. I saw this last episode that Ray did, and he was talking about how, you know, well, he played the tape where the owner said they didn't know what they were doing, but now they know what they're doing. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what a false hope is? A false hope is going into 2025 believing you could have the same leadership that didn't know what they were doing. Okay, I'm just saying. But I am the mean one, Mr. Grinch. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you, 2025 is going to be a tough year for those print people. There's no doubt about it. 2024 was a tough year. And if we can't address stories that don't have happy endings, if we can't face reality even when reality is uncomfortable, it'll be a disaster. It'll be a disaster. I'm hoping in all reality that I can do Ray's end of the year special next year. And maybe there's some good stuff I can talk about. Maybe there are some happy endings. Who knows? I would never do that. Ray would never hire me to do that. That's something Santa Claus will do, But I'll tell you this, folks. Everybody watching the end of the year with the Grinch and everybody that watches the end of the day with Ray knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that will be invented. Don't get stuck there and have a fantastic holiday season. And I'll see you all next year.